Okay, folks, welcome to today's video podcast, My Life with Robert Burns. I'm Douglas Mackenzie, and joining me from Kilmarnock is my friend and colleague from Newcomer Burns Club, Jim Thompson. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Douglas. Hi, everybody.
Another change to the format this week. We've got two musicians sitting in the room with their instruments, and they're keen to tell us their story. It's two guys who are known in the Burns supper circuit as Wood and Wire. Cronies everywhere. Please welcome Kenny Housley and Doug Carroll. How you doing, guys?
How we doing?
How you do?
Good to see you.
Good. Well, we usually start these things, we get you to talk a little bit about yourselves. So who wants to go first?
I'll kick off first if you want that, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Kenny Housley, or otherwise known as Wood. I was born in Castle Douglas, went to Castle Douglas High School, and lived and worked in that area for quite a while. Left school and served an apprenticeship as a carpenter and joiner. Did that for a few years, moved on and got a job in Dumfries at what was the old Dumfries and Galloway College of Technology as a lecturer for carpentry and joinery. And I did that, or I got away with that, I should maybe say, for 35 years. Nobody found me out. And I left there just 3 years ago, and I still do some part-time work for the Scottish Qualifications Authority. But my main interests are building guitars, building acoustic guitars, and other stringed instruments, doing repairs. And setups as well. And I've got a wife, Rose, and we've got a daughter, Amy, and 3 grandkids, Lincoln, and we've got twin girls, Paige and Robin. So that's my kind of resume at the moment.
Very good. Can I ask you a bit about the guitars? How long does it take to build a guitar from scratch?
From scratch, give or take, depends how much detail or work's wanting in it, but pretty standard, I would say about 200 hours worth of work. And that's spread over quite a period of time. Everything's glued together, so you've got setting time for the glue, and then the finish that goes onto it's got curing time and setting time as well. So everybody, when they order a guitar, they're all made to order. They're not made like and put into shops. They're all custom made, and whenever anybody asks me how long will it take, and I said it'll be ready when it's ready. No process that you can rush at all. So
and is this something you do from the house, or is that a
I've got a workshop at the house. I converted a double garage into the workshop, and I've got a studio up above the workshop as well. And if anybody's coming to, I've got prototypes of the guitars. They can come and try them and decide what they want. And very personal process. They choose the type of wood that they want and sounds that they're looking for, and the shape and size of the neck. There's a lot of different factors go into it. So there's over 200 different parts go into a guitar to make a guitar.
Oh, that's amazing. And is there any wood that's better than any other?
Well, there's some that are supposedly the top of the pile, Brazilian rosewood and Brazilian mahogany, but they're protected species now because they've been cut to almost extinction in the tropical rainforests, for coffee plantations and things like that. So they're now protected. But they would be, if you asked somebody, they would be the ultimate. But there's loads of other good tone woods out there that are equally as good, and a lot of the sound comes from the top of the guitar and the way that it's built. So whilst these high figured woods look nice, they're not necessarily playing a huge part in the sound, but they've got a part to play. So.
And where's your market? Is there people all over the country, all over the world?
Yeah, I've got a ukulele that I'm making at the moment that's going to Hong Kong. I've got a guitar. Because of COVID, we can't get it away. I've got one going to Canada, a guitar, and then the rest, Milton Keynes, Midlands, Cumbria, and round about Dumfries and Galloway as well.
Tremendous.
Yeah, so
well, that explains the wood and Wood and Wire. What about the wire?
I'll let Mr. Wire fill you in on that part.
Hi, my name's Doug Carroll. I was born in Dumfries and went to school in Castle Douglas, same school as Kenny, CD High School. And I left there and went to work in Semple and Ferguson's in Dumfries as a radio and TV engineer. There's a wee clue about the wire.
Yeah.
So I've worked there for best part of 5 years, and then went to the ICI, to the factory, and was there for nearly 10 years. Managed to get out just before the 10 and decided just to become a full-time musician. I had the chance to, I was starting to do a wee bit of guitar tuition, just for fun and just for friends and weekends and such like. But I was getting a few folk asking more often about that, and it looked like that was something that I could do, and that was like 30 years ago. So and that's mainly what I've been doing since. I've been playing in several bands, half a dozen bands. I've got a band with my wife called the Mary Barclay Band. I'm in a band, I'm a huge Rory Gallagher fan, and I have a Rory Gallagher tribute band, and I have an events band, and obviously Wood and Wire. I better mention my wife, Mary, and the kid, Rory and Neve. Yeah, so yeah, that's me.
Fantastic. I noticed you were very much into Rory Gallagher from your Facebook page.
All right. I was lucky enough to see Rory on quite a few occasions. In fact, the very first concert that I went to, just as I think I was 11 years old, and both my brothers were involved in the music industry as well. My eldest has a record shop in Edinburgh, and it was one of the largest second-hand record shops in Europe at the time. And my middle brother was a big Rory Gallagher fan, so he dragged me along. I didn't know really much about Rory, but I was well and truly converted at the Usher Hall in 1975.
So in all these bands, are they all the same kind of music?
No, they're like quite contrasting sounds. With the Mary Barclay Band, which my wife sings with, and we have a drummer, Fraser Graham, and a bass player, Kenny Urquhart from Dumfries. We play quite a few original tunes, and a lot of sort of pub gigs locally. So that's the Mary Barclay Band. My Rory Gallagher tribute band, which is called Against the Grain. Fraser's in that band as well, and the bass players, Andy McMillan. Yeah, sorry, Andy. The bass players, Andy McMillan from just outside Dumfries, and we've been all over with that band. We've played in Ballyshannon, where Rory was born, and in Cork, where he spent a lot of time. We've played at the Cavern in Liverpool, and we play in Oslo almost every year for 10 years or more. We've played at a Rory Gallagher festival in Oslo. We've been to Italy, been all over with a Rory band, and that's really where I really enjoy playing the Rory stuff.
Good. So with all that music, and in Kenny's case with all that work on building guitars, do you guys have any time for any non-musical hobbies or anything like that?
It's mostly a lot of it is music, but I don't think we've made it onto the golf course yet. But we've been to the driving range a couple of times.
We're both. I used to play golf years ago, and Doug, I'll not say it himself, but Doug used to play off too.
Oh wow!
And he's left-handed and plays right-handed, so same as he does guitar. But I used to be a bit more agricultural than that, and decided once I retired from the college to take it up again. And Duke says, we've been to the driving range, but we've not really been out and threatened anybody in the golf course yet, but we intend to. And I'm also huge fisher. I love fishing, salmon fishing, sea trout fishing as well. So that's probably my next passion.
We hear a lot about fishing from Billy Horn, who's another of the guys that's on our Zoom nights. So
yeah,
he's quite passionate about his fishing.
I've met Billy. I didn't know he was a fisher, but I'll be able to have a blather with him the next time I see him.
I think we've got to know a wee bit about you guys. So we want to get you talking a little bit about Burns. I'll hand over to Jim to get you started with some questions on that.
Well, boys, the first one's quite easy. How did you get started in the Burns movement?
Well, we were discussing this before we started the meeting tonight, and my first awareness of Burns, I think, was at school, Castle Douglas High School. They held an annual Burns competition for singing and for recitation, which I think is norm in most schools, secondary schools. And a wee bit of background, my older brother was a very good singer, and he had taken part in these competitions and had won prizes. And I think there was a certain amount of expectation, certainly not from me, but from parents maybe and the music teacher at the school, that I should be following in the same footsteps. And I had already tried music, French horn, and French horn, I did say that, clarinet and cornet. And none of these had really, kind of done anything for me, and I'd packed them in. And I was due to sing in the Burns singing competition this year. I can't even remember what song it was. I was due to sing, and the day before I pulled out and I said, nah, it's not for me. And it was based purely on, I was a teenager at the time. It wasn't cool to be standing up on the stage singing Burns love songs. That wouldn't have helped me with getting a girlfriend, and I pulled out. And the music teacher at the time, Miss Maley, she was mortified, and she said, and I'll quote here more or less, she said, Hilsley, you'll never make anything of yourself musically because you've just not got the staying power. So that was second year at the high school. So that'd be what, 1972 perhaps. And I just wish that I could, she's quite long gone now. I just wish I could meet her and just have a conversation with her and just show her what I have achieved. But that was my first introduction to Burns. Not a particularly great one, but that was the first introduction.
And the wire part?
Same school, different result, different outcome. I think it was maybe second or third year. There was always music in my family, and I hadn't been spending too long with a guitar at this point, just in second or third year at school, but I could carry a tune, or so I was told. So I think I entered willingly for the Burns solo singing competition, and Ebanks and Braes I sang, and I've got a book over here I brought to let Kenny see it, with a wee note saying first prize for Burns solo singing in 1978. But I won't tell you about getting second prize in it. The next. But I managed to. That was my first introduction, just singing Burns tunes at school, and it being a positive outcome.
How did you both come together to start doing the Burns suppers and stuff?
We were trying to remember that as well. When I started working at the college in Dumfries, that was about 1982, and there was one of the lecturers there who had taught me when I was there as a student, a man called Jim Scott. I don't know if you ever came across him, and Jim was a member of the Howth Club in Dumfries, and he knew from teaching me that I played guitar and sang, and he was a member, and they must have been looking for people to participate at a Burns supper. And I remember him we can't remember the year. We think it must have been about late 80, 89, 90-ish, round about there. And he asked me if I would go to the Howth Club. And I didn't really have much knowledge of the Howth Club, or how, you know, it was held in high esteem and very prestigious. And I knew it was connected with Burns, as in the Globe Inn, but I didn't really know much about the Howth Club. And I said, yeah, I would do that. I'd better learn some Burns songs. So I was kind of backtracking there, and I'd done quite a bit of traditional singing, so I was familiar with songs like Bonnie Dundee and Ye Jacobites and Kelly Cranky, so that was a fairly good start. And then I thought, right, I knew Duke through playing in bands, and I said, I've got a chance of this gig, how do you fancy having a shot at that? And we worked up a set for playing in there, and we think that was the first time that we got together to actually play at the Howth Club. And it took off from there.
So how long ago was that?
Well, as I say, I think about 1990, round about there. 30 years ago, yeah.
So you've been a duo doing Burns Suppers for 30 years?
On and off, we had a real kind of run, maybe 15, 16 years, and then we took a wee break from doing it, you know, as many. We 1 year, you know, years we would do 5 or 6 a year, and then we took a wee break, and then we've kind of come back at it again now, and you know, just fresh and new songs and things like that. But we've been dabbling in it for that amount of time, yeah, peddling in the burn, as they say.
Absolutely.
What we're supposed to come in and say just now is that you don't look old enough.
You've missed your cue, though. It's too late.
I mean, I know you, well, so let me mention, you are a member of Coldstream, is it, Kenny? Are you both members of Burns Clubs?
We're both members of the Howth.
Yeah.
We're both members of the Howth in Dumfries, but it's just you at Coldstream.
Yeah, I'm at Coldstream. My wife, Rose, she had her family lived in Coldstream for a while, so she's got a lot of friends there, and we go over, and I met up with another Kenny Brodie, who we've played together, the three of us as well, a band called Fine Blend. We all like malt whiskey as well, so you can get the connection there. But, I'm a member at Coldstream. I used to be a member at Castle Douglas. I used to go with my dad when he was alive, but living in Dumfries and playing at so many Burns Suppers, I could never get to Castle Douglas because it was always clashing with something that we were playing, so my membership drifted for there, but I was a member there before, yeah.
I mean, over 30 years, I don't know, the Burns Suppers beyond count. I mean, are there any memorable ones that come to mind?
I think everyone's kind of memorable in its own way, but you know, when we've been lucky enough to play at the Howth in our sort of early days, to get your first gig at the Burns Howth in Dumfries at the Globe. Well, we're sort of in at the deep end there, and seemed to be able to you know, be able to swim, if you like, and had some great suppers there. And then we went on up to somebody from Sanka, from the Black Joanne Club at Sanka.
Yeah, Edwin Young, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were asked to play there, and we've had some. I think, did we do every year for maybe 15 or 16 years there? Never missed a.
No.
Never missed a year.
I think probably one of the memorable ones for me would be the year at the Howth Club, and I can't remember the year, but Donald Dewar did the Immortal Memory, and it was just about the time of the inception of the Scottish Parliament. So they'll obviously by date, but I can't remember what it was. That was a memorable night there, just to be part of that. And you will be, and a lot of the viewers will be aware of the Globe probably as a bar or a pub, but you've really got to experience being in there when there's about 120 people in that room and it all sitting shoulder to shoulder before they've done the alterations. This was in the previous, and the atmosphere in there is quite electric. And the night that Donald Dewar was there, obviously tickets were at a premium, and I think enjoyed it, and I think I was privileged to be there that night to see it. It was something else. And any of the ones in the Cornets club rooms at the Black Joanne at Sanquhar, for me, they were just incredible nights. The condensation running down the inside of the walls, and the place was jam-packed full, and it was just, and it was in the days, we think back now, the days when everybody was smoking as well, and you know, the air, you could have cut it with a knife, but we're up there trying to sing in the middle of it.
Well, I can remember your first appearance at the Black Joanne. I didn't go to the Black Joanne every year, but I was there that first year, and it was a memorable night for me because it was the first time I'd heard your version of Green Grow the Ashes O, which I've loved ever since. So, I remember that well. I don't know how many years that was, but it's quite a long time ago.
And probably another memorable one was Edwin Young was the man that got us up there because he'd seen us at the house. And after we'd been there, I think maybe 2 or 3 years, he said to me one night, he said, my favourite Burns song is The Braes of Ballochmyle. And he said, he says, that's just a lovely song. Do you know it? And we both said, no, we don't know it. But we went away, and I went into the library in Dumfries where they've got manuscripts, and I found, or the lady in there did it for me and found a tune for it, and she photocopied it. I don't read music. Doug can read music, but at that time we weren't sure of the tune, so a very good friend and somebody who's worked along with Doug called Steve James, who's an excellent pianist, classically trained. Steve recorded the melody for us, and then we got a cassette, and we came and we got together and we practiced it, got the words, and we put together an arrangement for that, and we played it for Edwin the following Burns Supper, and he was very moved by the whole thing, and that was a special night, you know, because he'd been so good to us and inviting us and getting us introduced to other Burns Suppers, and for him to, you know, it was a wee bit of payback for him, and he was quite moved, and we gave him a signed copy of our CD with a recorded version of it on it as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we've teased the audience for long enough talking about guitars and songs. So is there any chance you guys could maybe give us a wee tune? And while Jim and I are thinking about some other questions to ask you.
We'd be delighted to. I'll not do a big introduction, but just tell me when you want me to start.
Whenever you're ready.
This is a favourite song of Willie Dick's. Willie invited us to sing it at Turbolton in the Bachelors Club, which was another memorable night, a really special night. And I said to him beforehand, because we were going to do about 9 songs, three turns, and he said, was that okay? And he said, yeah, we'll put together. And I said, what do you want us to sing? He says, I don't care what you sing as long as you sing Helena Kirkconnell. So Helena Kirkconnell is a great favourite of his, and it's a great favourite of ours, and it's got the connections from, you know, Dumfries down Kirkpatrick Fleming, where the stories originated from. Davy Shankland, who everybody that's connected with Burns will know who I mean. Davy Shankland gave us a wee bit of background on this once, in that it was some of the verses were gathered by Burns. There was a story there already, but I think he pulled it together and put it into the song. There's various versions of this. So this is Helen of Kirkconnell. where Helen lies on fair Kirkconnelly. Oh, Helen fair beyond compare, a ringlet to your flowing hair. I'll wear it still forevermore until the day I die. Cursed be the hand that shot the shot, curse the gun that gave the crack. In tapered Helen's arms she laughed and did forsake o' me. Thinking but my heart was sair, my love fell down and sparked na mair. 'Twas there she swooned with meikle care on fair Kirkconnelly. I left it down my sword to draw. I cut him into pieces small. I cut him into pieces small on fair Kirkconnelly. Oh, Helen chaste, thou were modest. If I were me, I was blessed. Now ye lie and tuck your rest on fair Kirkconnelly. I wish my grave was growing green, a winding sheet could over mine, and I in Helen's arms lying on fair Kirkconnelly. I wish I were where Helen lies, night and day, and me she cries. Oh, that I were where Helen lies on fair Kirkconnelly.
Well done. Well done.
Excellent. It's a lovely, lovely song that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song, yeah. So that's a big favourite of ours.
I think it's a big favourite of quite a number of the guys at New Cumnock as well. I've a notion you played it the night you did New Cumnock Burns Club, but
Yeah.
But I remember at the Bachelors Club you did it because Willie had asked you, and the atmosphere in the Bachelors Club was tremendous.
Aye, that was a special night. We've got a wee Willie recorded part of it on his phone. I've got that. That's it's not the best of recordings, but it captured it, and it's great. Yeah, it's really good.
We're still doing a virtual version of it. We've managed to keep that going. So if you're ever free in a first Tuesday in the month and you want to join in, just let me know.
Yeah, we certainly will. Yeah.
So, thinking about Burns and thinking about Burns songs, what kind of repertoire do you have of Burns songs? You must know a hell of a lot of them now.
Well, I think not a huge. I wouldn't say a repertoire. I would say probably 15 to 20. We tend to steer away from the more you know, common ones. We like to try and find something that's, you know, just a wee bit different, like the Braes of Ballochmyle, and you know, and we like to get something and put our interpretation onto it rather than, you know, doing the standard, you know, but just, I'm loath to say hackneyed version, but you know, the standard kind of version. I think sometimes, Doug and I've talked about it before, I've got memories of singing Burns songs at schools, but they were very kind of vamped on a piano, and you know, they lost the melody, and we do our own version of the Auld Lang Syne with the original fiddle tune, and that's a different song completely to the one.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we tend to do, and we're always looking out for something new. I heard a version of Westland Winds just recently, and I'm pursuing that to see if we can maybe work up a version of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many beautiful songs. I always feel it's a shame that when you go to suppers, you hear the same things every year, or
Exactly.
and it's great when people like yourselves are prepared to give the lesser known songs a go, because some of them are tremendous.
Oh, they're lovely, yeah, and it's a bit of a challenge, and it keeps it fresh for us. I think that's one of the important things, you know, because it could be very easy to stand up and sing the Jacobite type songs all the time, but it wouldn't be very challenging for us, and we would get stale with that quite quickly.
When you're learning songs, does it give you an inkling into what Burns was kind of thinking as he was writing these, or if he's adapting them, whatever he was doing? Do you get a sense of what's going on in his head at the time?
Yeah, very much so, and there's quite an interesting story I'll share with you. When we did Ye Banks and Braes, and we learned that, and we did our interpretation of it, and the line, you know, right at the end where it is, but he left the thorn with me, and we were learning this, and quite kind of new to the Burns things at the time, and thinking, okay, we'll need to change that to but she left the thorn with me, thinking because we're two males singing that song, and we performed it at Sanquhar, Black Joanne, and at the end of the evening, it went down very well, but at the end of the evening, Edwin took us to one side and gave us a small Burns lesson and explained what the last verse meant. And ever since then, I've paid attention to what's being said and made a point of understanding what's being said, because he pointed out just the error of our ways in a very nice way. But I've always appreciated him for that and respected him for it. He could do it. He said, that was great, but just so you didn't let yourselves down in front of anybody else, just remember that. So yeah, the interpretation is very important.
I mean, I've heard you in Newcomnock, obviously, and I was very impressed. But do you actually have any personal favourites in the songs you sing in relation to Burns?
Well, I've got a personal favourite of mine would be Ca the Yowes. We've done thumbs up
result.
Oh, I mean, the last verse of the first version of Ca the Yowes is probably Burns' greatest love song, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've managed to make a recording of it, and again, as Kenny was saying earlier, we maybe like to put our own mark on it, and you know, I quite often play an electric guitar on 2 or 3 Burns tunes, and that sometimes gets a reaction, just like it got there. What, an electric guitar? How dare you? Yeah. But it's just allows us just to add another sort of dynamic to the sound, and it's something different that you maybe wouldn't hear everywhere.
And you asked us about memorable nights. That was a memorable night, the night we walked into Howth Club with an electric guitar and amplifier.
Bob Dylan had a similar reaction when he got an electric guitar.
They've got electric wooden wire.
I don't know if he played in the Globe, did he?
I don't know.
Barry actually was the first thing that conjured in my mind was a Sherpa van at the door with roadies and all that.
I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan, And that's what made me pick a guitar up to play. I said earlier on that I'd played French horn and clarinet and things, but what I didn't realise at the time was that I was actually a frustrated singer and wanted to sing, despite me bottling out of singing at the Burns competition at the school. And obviously with these other instruments, singing wasn't an option. But I heard Bob Dylan for the first time about 1972, 73, and that made me want to pick up a guitar and sing, and that's really what's pushed me on. And the connection with Dylan and Burns, you know, Dylan holds Burns in very high esteem, and they're both excellent wordsmiths, and that's what draws me to them. You know, that's a fantastic connection.
Well, you mentioned earlier on the electric guitar. That's one of the reasons that you guys were memorable for me, because I'd long advocated that we should be pushing the boundaries a wee bit with some of the Burns stuff, and I just loved the fact that you took it that stage further. And it was certainly the first time I heard it, I thought that's marvelous, and I've enjoyed it every time you've done it since. So that's been tremendous.
Well, that's excellent. Very good of you to say.
Thanks very much.
I think we're probably getting close to the end of our time, Jim. Is there anything else we'd like to ask these guys before we try and persuade them into another song?
No, I just want to hear the music, if I'm being honest.
Shut up and play a guitar.
Aye, absolutely. Yeah.
Would that be acceptable? Can you give us another song before we finish?
Absolutely, yes. And as luck would have it, Jim.
Go, we're in. I mean,
that looks.
I absolutely adore this song. I really do. And every time I speak at any Burns event, I always manage to stitch in something. I do. I just can't help myself. It's wonderful.
Okay, Kenny, are any of these guitars ones that you've made?
All the acoustic guitars are, yes.
Oh wow.
They're all. I made this guitar that I've got here, and this one on the stand next to Doug. They're called the wooden wire guitars. They're a matching pair, and I made them. Doug's got a slightly different specification, shape of neck and things like that, but they were made at the same time. They've got Tasmanian blackwood back and sides on them, and red spruce tops on them.
So they're beautiful.
Yeah, so that's. out of stone. My very heart, I can die, cannot part my bonny dear. Call the youngs to the mouse, call them what the heather grows, call them what the bunny rose, my bonny dearie.
Right. Well, that was fantastic, guys. That song. That's a beautiful, beautiful song. And it's a great way for us to finish this episode. So I just want to say, on behalf of Jim and myself, thanks very much for giving up your time and telling us about your life with Robert Burns. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks very
Thank you
much.
for asking us. Yeah,
Thanks a
it's been
lot.
great.
Thank you.